pleasure to welcome Frank Garcia, longtime lineman in the NFL. He is working these days, WFNZ in Charlotte. You can follow him on Twitter at Frank Garcia65. Frank, thanks for your time. Hope you and your family are all staying safe and doing well. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. We're doing our best up here, and same for you guys down there.
Well, Frank, let's talk football. It is the one thing of normalcy that I think, everybody that complained on Monday that the NFL was going about their business can all issue an apology, in my opinion, because we've needed this desperately. But have the Panthers needed it? Because this is starting to look like a teardown, Frank. Is that what we are seeing?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to come out and tell you straight to our faces, but I think you can absolutely see that anytime a new coaching staff, comes in, you're going to see, change at the top. And there was a show a couple of years ago called All or Nothing Done, and you saw a lot of the leaders like Cam Newton and Ryan Khalil and Greg Olsen and Luke Kuechly and some of the other players that were on there. They're no longer here, so it's nothing right now. And they may have foreshadowed what was to come for the Panthers, but Rule has done what he is. I guess what he's looked to do is replace the leadership at the top, and it is sometimes a necessary evil that takes place when you have a coaching change.
Well, and he has, granted, it's on Saturdays and not Sundays, but he has done it at his two head coaching jobs in college. They have both been tremendous teardowns and rebuilds, and he has been successful both places. But Frank, did you believe before this teardown started in the last 6 weeks that it was necessary, or did you still think that the Panthers needed to make changes but could still win?
Yeah, I thought, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that go from worst to first, in particular in this division. Before the Panthers, kind of went on their 3-year run where they won the division back-to-back with Ron Rivera, there was a unprecedented amount of times that the last-place team had gone to first-place team. I think it was 5 or 6 in a row, and the Panthers were a part of that. So you can win this league. There's a lot of parity that exists, but when you start looking at, like I said, coaching change, and at the top, when you want people to fall in line, you don't want them second guessing and looking at past leadership that was here maybe on the team, and there has to be that connection, with what the players are doing versus what the coaches are saying. And if everybody doesn't fall in line, then you're going to have a little bit of a disconnect, and I think that's really kind of what's taken place. But when you look at this organization, they've never had back-to-back winning seasons, and that's kind of unheard of considering the success they've had and the amount of Super Bowls they've gone to. They've been to 2, and they've been to the playoffs quite a bit of times, but they've just never had back-to-back winning seasons, and I think this ownership wanted to change that.
What do you think Teddy brings this team?
I think some consistency. That's one of the things that you look at that position. Cam Newton, when he is playing well, is as good as anybody in this league. He plays the position a little differently, as we all know. But I think there's some consistency, at that position that we really haven't experienced, in years. So that's the one thing that I think he'll bring. That I think he'll also bring some leadership as well, some veteran presence in the locker room, and he's going to be on the same page with the same message that the coach is going to be on. That's his guy. So I think that when he tells Bridgewater something, the coach tells Bridgewater something, that's going to be transferred to the rest of the team. And I think if you don't have that, then you're going to have some disorderly conduct.
Do you think going with a different quarterback is the wise move?
Yeah, I do. I think that considering all the potential injuries that have lingered around with Cam, kind of the way that he operates at that position, he has a lot of fun. If you've ever watched him practice and the way that he plays the game, and sometimes you just need that change at top, and it may be the best for him as well. If you're a veteran quarterback in this league, You want to win championships. And I think Cam does want to win. I think he works hard. And I think sometimes a breath of fresh air is a good thing for players and everybody. It happened with Ron Rivera. I don't think Ron Rivera deserved to be fired, but sometimes you need a change. And I think that that's where the Panthers have kind of decided to go, the direction with David Tepper. And I think that with that decision, you need that change at top. And those are the two positions that kind of command the most respect as head coach and quarterback.
And obviously, rules the roost now with what has gone on. I mean, it is clearly his team going forward. When you look at a McCaffrey and the amount of carries he gets and how critical he is to this offense in a rebuild, is he part of the rebuild, or would you see this me at the end of this contract with the number of carries that they would let a guy like that go? I mean, it's very interesting that here's a guy who touches the ball as much as anybody in the league that's not a quarterback, and you're going to have to go through a couple of years possibly of a rebuild seeing this guy get beat up.
Yeah, I mean that's why they pay you money. There's a lot of players that get built around, and that's part of the job title is when you're going to play the position, the way McCaffrey does. And I look at him as more than just a running back because I think he's a weapon. He doesn't take the physical pounding, like the traditional running back, like a Derrick Henry would, where he's going to be running straight up and down between the tackles. He's a guy that you can get the ball in his hands in space and make guys miss. And he kind of dictates where, the hits are coming from. Even though he's getting hit with those touches, it may shorten his career, but I think the guy does a phenomenal job of staying in shape, and I think he loves the touches, and I think he gets better with it. So, whether he wants to be here to see what's taking place, sometimes that's out of our control as players, and that's again why they pay you, a lot of money to go out there and do it. But I don't remember Barry Sanders complaining. He didn't play very long. But he went through some of those things and didn't have a lot of support around him and, still found a way to be great. And I think Christian McCaffrey will do that as well.
Frank Garcia, longtime lineman in the NFL with the Rams and the Panthers, now part of WFNZ in Charlotte. Follow him on Twitter at Frank Garcia 65. When you were with the Rams, you blocked for Kurt Warner the year you guys went to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in these parts, a lot of excitement about Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. First off, from a lineman standpoint, when you went from blocking for Kerry Collins in Carolina and some of the others that you blocked for, and then you went to the Rams, who had already won a Super Bowl, and Warner was established as a league MVP. I mean, talk to us about what it's like for a lineman to be blocking and playing with a great quarterback. What does that do, and what kind of pressure does that put on you?
Well, it commands excellence from everybody around you because the expectations of that player is going to change the expectations of maybe some of the other guys and how you operate. You're going to see what excellence looks like when he steps in the huddle because he's not going to allow players to maybe be less of what they really should be. People are going to be where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, and he's going to command that. That's the respect that he deserves. That's the respect that he's earned, and that's kind of the respect that when I walked in that huddle from the Carolina Panthers to the St. Louis Rams, that I was unfamiliar with on a consistent basis. You look at when guys are out there playing, whether it's Marshall Faulk or Torrey Holt or Isaac Bruce or Kurt Warner or Orlando Pace, who's sitting next to me, and these guys and the way they prepare and the way they practice and how hard they practice and how fast they practice, it raises the level of everybody in that huddle, and that's what Tom Brady is going to command. He's going to raise the play and the level of those players that are in that huddle on a daily basis, and ultimately that's going to make you a better football team. Even if it's not him doing it with his physical ability, his leadership is going to force those players to play harder, to play faster, to play more consistent.
What do you think it does to the Bucks in terms of where their status now is in the South? Because obviously, you make a move like this, people tend to see far more of the good than the bad. So, 43-year-old quarterback. This is almost uncharted territory here. I mean, Moon played till around then. You know, you got to go back a couple generations to quarterbacks who started games regularly at that age. But with those weapons around him and the fact that they could turn the ball over as much as they did last year and still go 7-9, Frank, how do you view the Bucks heading into this season?
As a dangerous football team, anytime you have Tom Brady on your football team, regardless of the age, you know, there's going to be a point where you look at the guy and he obviously can't play, but that's not it. He can still make all the throws. He's going to, like I said, raise the level of expectations, which is going to raise the level of play for these players. And, you know, you're not going to have maybe the ups and downs or the highs or lows or the, you know, who do we turn to when, you know, time's getting tough. He's going to take control of those situations. And, you know, because of those things, guys are going to perform at a higher level on a more consistent basis. And the Bucks are going to be a dangerous football team. You look at them as maybe one of the contenders in the South. Not that they weren't before, but it takes them to the next level where with what you had with Jameis was, you know, maybe just, you know, too many highs, too many lows. When he's great, he's really good. But he had just as many bads as he did good. So, you know, that's what Tom Brady, he's going to bring some consistency, some stability to that huddle, and playmakers are going to thrive in that situation.
And Frank, final question, and we're very appreciative of your time. Cam Newton, can you believe right now it looks as if there is not a place for him to start in this league? I mean, you know, the Chargers seem to not be going down that road, which is a little mind-boggling to the two of us. But, I mean, is he damaged goods because of the injuries? I mean, he's 31. I mean, that's not old.
Yeah, and, you know, there's a lot of not necessarily baggage in a negative way. There's just a different way that he plays the position. And I wouldn't count him out as not being a starting quarterback. He has a lot of ability, but he's got to go out there and pass physicals. And I think there's some teams positioning, you know, themselves potentially in the draft to look at him and, you know, maybe make some moves or maybe make some different decisions knowing that he's out there. The Dolphins might be a team that does that. You look at, like you pointed out, the Chargers. I still think there's, you know, 4 or 5 teams out there that could use him as an upgrade over their current quarterback, and you know, those are you know, things that we're going to wait and see how they pan out. But I wouldn't count him out yet. He still has MVP potential when he's healthy. When things are going well, he can take over a game at any given situation. He has a lot of football left in him, and it's going to matter of you know, the commitment level that he shows when he gets to the situation that he's in, and you know, his level of commitment of how, where he is at as a quarterback. But I wouldn't count him out quite yet.
Frank, as we said earlier, thanks so much for your time, and all the best to you and your family during these times.
Yep, thank you guys. You stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Frank Garcia was a lineman with the Carolina Panthers in the late 90s. Was part of that NFC championship team, and then went to the Rams and blocked for Warner for a couple seasons, including going to that Super Bowl in which they lost to the Patriots. You can follow Frank on Twitter at Frank Garcia65. You know, Mark, Frank opened up a window there in which maybe does somebody like Miami think that Cam's an upgrade over what they have? Well, what about Washington? With I mean, are you sure that Haskins is the guy if you're Ron Rivera?
Well, and also, hey, maybe Haskins is the guy. And maybe Ron Rivera thinks that Haskins could benefit for 2 years with Cam Newton teaching him how to be a pro. You know, David, for every rookie that comes into this league and plays well, there are 5 that don't. And we have dismissed quarterbacks so quickly in this league now. Whereas generations ago, these same quarterbacks that are dismissed and thrown onto the trash heap would have never even been close to starting a game yet. I mean, think about how long it took for a quarterback to get drafted to get the job in the NFL you and I grew up with. I'm not saying that it doesn't evolve and college players aren't better now. I am just saying that everybody still thinks it takes time, but no one's willing to give these quarterbacks any time. Ryan Tannehill is a very good example of that. Things were moving along pretty well. A couple of injuries set him back. Who knows? Is there a second life for a Ryan Tannehill right now? And if there is, how many of these other guys could have a second life?
Cam takes the Panthers to 3 playoffs in a row, and they are 6-2 at the midway point of the 2018 season. He gets hurt in that Thursday night game in Pittsburgh. They go 1-7 to finish the year. Then he's injured to start 2019. They go 0-2. They shut him down for the rest of the year. He's 1-9 in his last 10 starts, but he's been injured for all of them. You know, we talk about the Bears acquiring Nick Foles. What if they're getting 2017, 2018 Nick Foles? Well, what if somebody gets 2015 through the halfway point of 2018 Cam Newton? Because that guy was a top 10 quarterback in the league, and that was an understatement.